Too.
Hmm. Yeah.
Michael, I got you on mute. Ready to start?
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:03, and we're going to give just a couple of more minutes for people to join and make sure everyone in that wants to attend, and then we'll move forward. So give me until 6:05, and then we'll start. Do you see any of our pastors or? Good evening, everyone. Yep. Good evening, everyone. It is now 6:05, and we're going to call the meeting to order. I do see Pastor Brewer on the phone, and I always hate to put you on the spot, Pastor, but do you mind opening us up in prayer this evening?
Yes, I can.
Okay, hold on one second. We can't hardly hear you in here. Is our volume up?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you're still real low as far as in our room. So it's hard for us to hear. We're gonna make sure. Okay, let's give it another shot, Pastor Brewer. Can you hear us okay?
I hear you very well.
Okay, yeah, it can't hardly. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and let you go and open us in prayer, but we're gonna work on the speaker just to hear you a little bit better because you really sound far off in the distance.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we come right now to say thank you, Lord, for another evening. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the leadership here at the 11th Precinct and Ms. Kim Jackson. And we thank you, Lord, for the community who've come together for a common good. And so now, Lord, we ask that your wisdom guide us in this meeting, Lord. We ask that you give us recall of all of our life's experience, that we're able to make sense of what it will take to make the community better for all of us to be able to live together. And so, Lord, we just ask that you bless the 11th Precinct and cover all the officers, Lord, with your love, protection, and the blood of Jesus. We thank you for this right now. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for opening us up in prayer. We're gonna do roll call. Myself, Kim Jackson, President of the 11th Precinct Police Community Relations. I see my treasurer, Mr. Leon Wire. Good evening to you. I see Judith Yalder. Hello, how are you? Thank you for attending the meeting this evening. We're gonna get right into the president's report. And I'm gonna start out. I guess there might have been some confusion on the meeting being canceled last month. So I'm gonna talk about that. I am the one that canceled the meeting on September. I can't remember the date. However, that email did come from me. The commander, the captain, the MPOs, along with Sergeant Spruce, were also on that email. So everyone was aware that the meeting was canceled. I canceled the meeting. I have a right to cancel a meeting. I don't have to give an explanation to why. I'm a very private person and my information I keep to myself unless it has to come out. I canceled the meeting. So here's the deal. And just in case, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. My first and foremost priority is my family. My mother is my top priority. And if she needs me for any reason on any day, I'm going to be there to attend to my mother. My second priority is my good paying job, which I'm going to make sure that I'm there and do what I am asked to do on a daily basis and keep my doctors and my nurses and my PAs and everybody in order and everybody's happy. Then I have all the other time in the world to share with the community. And I do that even during my work time. I will answer emails and get information out as quickly as I can. And I want to make sure that everybody is aware that those are my top priorities. I am here for you. I have been here for 11 years, have never, ever, ever canceled a meeting in 11 years. And the one meeting that I did have to miss, the MPO stepped up for me. I want to make sure that we're clear. I mean, if you guys aren't happy, I'm sorry about that. But to have a meeting canceled once in 11 years, I think that's pretty darn good. So if there's any questions or concerns, please feel free that you can contact me, you can call me. Now, if you're gonna call and ask me why I did something, I don't have to answer you. I'm just gonna be real with you, I don't. But if you like to have conversation, I'm open. I have an open door policy I've had for the last 11 years. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. You know, thank God it's only been one meeting in 11 years. I think that's a pretty good track record. So are there any questions, any concerns? Anybody want to bring anything up? This is the time to do it. Going once? Going twice? Okay, that subject is closed. Next on the list, we're gonna go right into, because I know the the captain may have to leave. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip a little bit and get to Captain Blackwell and have her update us on our police report.
Hello, good evening all. I hope all is well with everyone. It's good to see you all again. I wanted to give you some stats and welcome everybody on behalf of Commander Slappy, as well as myself and everyone here at the 11th Precinct. Thank you all for being here on this lovely Tuesday evening. Just to give you a couple stats of what's going on with the precinct. Our non-fatal shootings are up almost 59% compared to last year. However, we do have a 37% closure rate. And what drove our numbers really high this past reporting period was multiple shooting that took place on Halleck Street, in addition to another multiple victims for another shooting at Mandy's nightclub. We do have a warrant that has been submitted for that individual for the Mandy shooting in particular. We also have our sexual assaults. We had one in the last reporting period. We had two this reporting period. Aggravated assaults are down 48, almost 49%. Robberies, 60%. Burglaries. We have the burglaries are up. We had about 25 last reporting period and 27 this reporting period. So we'll take a look into those and see what areas those are. But our larcenies are down, and then we had a rise in motor vehicle thefts. We are working with CATS, which is commercial auto theft. They actually closed down 2 chop shops last month. So we'll continue to work with them and try to drive those numbers down. We actually, last Saturday, for our Faith in Blue event, we hosted we had a prayer vigil and balloon release last Saturday for the victims from the shooting on Halleck Street. I just want to thank Pastor Brewer, as well as East Davidson Community Group and some of the other individuals and groups that did participate and support. We had a wonderful turnout. We had quite a few families and folks from the community that were very supportive, and it turned out to be a really nice event. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the precinct for attending and supporting that event. And that's really all I have right now.
Do we have any questions for the captain?
Ms. Jackson, I have one question. I was just wondering on the break-ins in the community, are there any particular boundaries or streets that it may be up? Would you have that information?
11-2, Scout Car 11-2 area, which is that DeQuinder, Ryan, 7 Mile to 8 Mile area. We've had a few there. That's been the most problematic spot for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the captain? Going once? Going twice? All right, thank you, Captain. Appreciate you attending the community meeting. Thank you so much.
If anyone needs anything, my cell phone, I'll share it in the chat room. Thank you all.
Okay, next, do not forget, of course, November the 2nd is election day. If you try not to, if you can, put your ballots in the mail. Let's take them down, hand walk them down into the appropriate boxes and make sure your ballots get counted. So if you can avoid the mail, try to avoid the mail. But let's get those out if you're gonna do absentee. If not, make sure you try to get that out and vote that day. We're coming up January and February. We're going back to our old routine. January and February, we will have no meeting. There will be no community meeting in January and February. And I will make sure I send out an email. And what I'm also gonna do is send out the 2022 calendar so that everybody will have it with the 2022 dates for our community meeting. But please remember, January, February, no community meeting. I think that's about it. We got a couple of guest speakers, so I want to give them enough time and the appropriate time. I'm gonna come back to my officials, my city reps, our pastors. I'm gonna come back to you guys. I want to make sure that we get room in for our guest speakers tonight. So bear with me. I am gonna switch up the agenda a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, hopefully I say his last name correctly. His name is Jim Schulenberger, and he's with OmniSource Recycling. I hope I have that right.
You're close.
Okay.
No, Schallenberger's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is, if possible, let me do the introduction as we are an agent for OmniSource. And I was the contact for Kim Jackson to help set up this meeting.
See you there, Terrence. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. As I stated, my name is Terrence Hicks, and I have my colleague Grant Johnson, and we're both agents for Compass Strategies, a public affairs firm located here in Detroit. And we're just proud to represent OmniSource, a potential recycling company that could potentially locate in the Davidson, Buffalo, Bloom area. And we certainly appreciate the 11th Precinct and the community contingent allowing us to tell you about some of the things that could possibly happen in that area. And we're excited to be able to tell you that. So thank you for allowing us this audience. So with that being said, we would like to introduce Jim Schollenberger as a representative from OmniSource, and he also would like to be able to share some content, a PowerPoint presentation. Is that possible?
Yes, it is. Can you guys share the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'll just hit the button if you let me do that. It'd be great.
You should be able to share it because I think, Jim, are you going to be the one to share the PowerPoint?
Yes, I will.
I think you just give him the access to do it. They'll go up to, you should be able to go to share screen and then he should be able to,
Yeah, it says that host disabled the participant screen sharing.
no, I can't see that far. What does that say?
Yeah, I think you have to allow as the host us to be able to.
Try to do that now for us.
Okay.
Go, yeah, I think that says all participants. Let me get up this because I sure can't see from here.
Yeah, I would do all participants.
Okay, just check it.
Who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? Okay, now post on. Okay, you should be good now. Okay, go ahead and hit your X out.
I got it.
You got it. Perfect. Okay, thank
Got
you.
it. Hopefully it'll work for us.
Yep, it's loading up.
Okay, you got the screen?
Yep, we do. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for everybody taking time out of your busy day to listen to me talk to you about our proposed project we have, we're working with the city of Detroit with. We're calling it a steel logistics center. And before I get into that, I just give a little bit of background here. I'm with OmniSource. You may see our trucks in and around the Detroit area. We are a scrap recycling company. We've been in the business since 1946. We're headquartered out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, but I'm sitting here in Toledo. I've been tasked with putting together this project. I've been with OmniSource for 30 years and seen a lot of things. And so I've been tasked with putting this project together for us. OmniSource is actually, we've been around since 1946, but in recent years we were bought out by Steel Dynamics, a steel mill, and who is a big player in the flat roll market that provides a lot of steel to companies such as Stellantis, Ford, all the tier one stampers. And OmniSource is the metals recycling wing at Steel Dynamics. And we have 1,700 employees. We handle 4.6 million tons of scrap a year. And this is stretching from the Midwest all the way down into Texas. We have 88 processing facilities, and we also dabble in aluminum as well, where we deal with 9.8 million pounds. The project we have going on, there's a lot of ways that you can look at scrap recycling. And this operation that we're proposing to put in is an industrial scrap loading operation. It is what makes it unique. What makes it unique compared to other, I would say, junkyards or other operations, is that this material that's being used, that's being loaded out in this facility, is all from industrial manufacturers. It is not a open to the public. It is not a shredding yard. I keep on stressing that because Detroit has plenty of shredders. You don't need another one. And we're not doing that. It's not open to the public, doesn't have cash on site. It is strictly a steel operation, and it's taking up a parcel of land that is what we're currently working with. Is we have a 14-acre parcel with Conrail. It's the old Detroit terminal facility, the old switchyard that's between the prison and Davison. And our project entails the eastern portion of that parcel. We currently have a purchase agreement.
Jim.
Yes.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if they can see the detail because this is an important slide. Can the audience or Kim, can you see the detail?
I can see the streets that's being surrounded by the site.
Okay, that's important. We want to make sure you see it. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jim. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I want to make sure it's clear and don't want to get any misinformation. The project site, the project that we're working on is the eastern portion of that. At this time, we have no plans moving to the west. Conrail kind of put this as a package deal for us, and we purchased the entire site. The areas down in Buffalo and Bloom, we're currently going through the process of rezoning and site plan approval, because that is an area that's going to be very important as far as buffer is concerned and site access. The area that we're focusing on is this is the Buffalo. This is Buffalo Street. The parcels of land in here, approximately 14 of them, with 6 structures. Our plans involve the removal and the cleanup of this area. This is Bloom looking northeast. This is the plan we're having is to maintain as much tree cover as possible, because like I said, this is a portion where we're looking to have a buffer to be able to create a boundary between residentially zoned areas and our operation. And this is on the west side of Bloom. We're not involved in anything on this side of the street. Everything is from Bloom east and Buffalo west, and then the old switchyard. Now, there's 2 processes that are being proposed to be placed on that site. I call them basically a load in, load out operation, where material comes in from various suppliers, various industrial suppliers. They come in by semi truck. There's no pickup trucks. There's no straight trucks. It's just strictly semi truck. They come into the facility. They load in. They basically load into a pile that gets accumulated, and then it gets loaded out by rail. The reason why we selected the site is because of the rail. The plan behind this project is to be able to provide scrap material, raw material to the mills, and the most efficient means to get them to is through the gondola, through gondolas, through trains. And so I had mentioned before, you have one process of load in, load out, where we're not doing anything because the material is already ready to go to a consumer. When I say load in, process, and load out, that means the material comes in, it's too fluffy, as I call it, fluffy steel, but it's too light. It has to be made into a bale so that the mills will accept it for a raw material, charge in their mill. So the trucks would come in off the truck scale, load into a process to create bales. They look like a bale of hay, except they weigh a ton. And then they go out in the same gondola. The goal is trucks in, rail out. This is what I would call fluffy scrap. This comes from an automotive manufacturer. It is the outfall from a stamping of a car. It's strictly raw steel. It's pure steel. It's high value, but it's very light. And you need to get it to a certain specification or density that the mill will accept it. And this would be a material that would be baled. Now, on the other hand, the same type of industrial operation that stamps out parts may have a scrap that's very dense, such as this material here, where it doesn't need to be pressed. It doesn't need to be compressed. It's suitable density to be shipped. This would be a traditional scrap that would be then loaded directly into a rail car and then shipped out. Now, I wanted to stress something here. I mentioned the thing about shredding. This is not coming to the site, period. It's not.
That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, this is not a post-consumer
yard.
It is not a dumping yard. It's not a junkyard. This material here is what I would call, we can all call it the same thing. It's a 4-letter word. It's junk.
Yeah.
Okay. There's probably other words that people will say too, but this is junk. This material is a shredding feedstock. This is not going to happen to this site. We have no intentions to do that. There's plenty of people that do that in Detroit, and we're not going to be one of them.
Is the other material has smells or fumes from it?
No. Nope. It is a stamped material that is a clean scrap. It will have like a residual coating on it, but it doesn't have odor. It's not like if you have post-consumer goods, say like old refrigerators. I mean, the smell of an old refrigerator. I mean, it's and other things that come in. No, we don't want to. This is as if the type of material you would have would be if you took a piece of paper and you cut a circle out of it and you kept the circle and then you had the other part that's left over. That's the material. It's called.
Chairman, when you want to take questions.
We're gonna hold off on the questions until he's done with his presentation, because he may answer your questions through the meeting, if that's okay. Okay, thank you. Just want to let him do his presentation.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can take them as they come along, but I understand by keeping timely on this. As far as what we look at as community benefits is, there's development of abandoned land and properties. This is the rejuvenation of an industrial yard that was last used in the mid 80s. And but knowing that we need the railroad, that was the perfect fit for this type of operation, was that we had an active railroad available. The 14 properties that are in that area, right now, the plan is to basically, we're looking to, like I said, to get those down, get them cleaned up, put in, that's where the site entrance goes in. That's to basically so avoid having trucks going down residential roads. We don't want that. No, it's got to come off of a major road or come off of Davison. So that's one of the main reasons why we selected these properties, is to make it an industrial appropriate entrance. I'm always a firm believer that activity is good during the day, consistent activity. And that's what this operation would bring. It's a one shift operation. And I'll say that numerous times through this thing. It's a one shift operation. So the truck traffic that will happen is during the day. And I'll go to the numbers of what you're talking about as far as like number of trucks per day. Local jobs, it's a material handling operation. So it's not a big employer, but we're anticipating like 8 to 10 individuals on site. And depending upon how this project goes, we're looking probably 3 to 5 jobs to start off with that will be made available. And we're working with Detroit at Work, with Dana Williams Group, to help put together a framework or a resource that we can be able to work with the community to be able to have a chance to get qualified individuals to come work with us. And then one thing that's on the city side is, you're dealing with vacant land and blighted properties. There's property taxes and payroll taxes. How the city wants to deal with that. Okay, but that's something that's going to be, that's a benefit to the community. Now, as far as like impacts are concerned, there's good things and there's things that need to be managed on our end. Truck traffic, like I mentioned, it's 100% semi trucks, no pickup trucks, nobody dragging stuff down the street. No shopping carts. No, it's all industrial sources coming in. And based on the volume that we're looking at, we're looking to 10 to 15 trucks a day. That's not a lot, but that's really for the amount of material coming in. That's about the volume that we would be looking at. Now, as I mentioned, trucks go in, rail goes out. So the anticipated number of cars going into the facility and out, we're figuring every other day. It depends on how Conrail, Norfolk Southern wants to service us. It could be 6 cars every other day. Now, I know there's a concern locally with respect to railroad tracks, especially if you get farther up near the Chrysler plant where they stop the traffic to push in 160 cars. This is off. This is kind of like a dead end track that comes off of the Conrail North Yard. And we've talked to Conrail and they're planning to take in 6 cars, 6 out. You wouldn't have these long trains that would stop in the middle of intersections or anything like that. The positioning of the entrance is such that it won't impact Ryan, it won't impact Mound. It's just going to be right in that area between those two major roads. Noise, obviously you're dealing with an industrial operation with the load in, load out, and processing, all of it. You're dealing with steel, and so I'll explain how we try to address that in our layout. Drainage from industrial operations, since it's an industrial process, we have to be concerned about the drainage in there and see what we need and what we need to do to put the right infrastructure in to take care of that. And many of the locations on this site, you're going to have aggregate material surfaces where the scrap will be sitting. There's a potential of dust there, not basically just silt to dust, not from the scrap, it'd be from the surface. But there's a way to handle that. It's a very simple way to handle that. And that's what we need to do, because we want to make sure that we're a good industrial neighbor. And these are trying to mitigate these nuisances that potentially exist in these operations. And then view, of course, like I mentioned, I've been in the scrap industry for 30 years. Scrap, I don't really mind scrap view, but a lot of people do. And so we have to do something about that from our end. Now, this is our current layout that we're working with the city to put in. And what it involves is basically Davison is down here at the bottom of the screen here. This is Buffalo, north-south Buffalo. Davison Auto Parts is this area right here. Then you have J&N Industrial. You have Bloom Street right here. And as I mentioned, our current plan is to put in an industrial entrance off of Davison, scaling operation, employee offices and parking. And then you get far into the yard. And what we did purposely was to design to put the processes that have the ability to create the most noise during the day, is put them on the east end of the facility between Davison and the prison and put distance away from everybody. So when you look at the processes I was showing before, you have the truck scales coming in. There is load in, load out in this area too, but there's other materials you can put in that area. As I was showing the denser material, that's not really allowed material when it's being loaded. But if you go over in this area where the process is, you could have some noise there and then some noise also in the distance. But the idea here is this area here between Bloom along Phyllis Street. The idea is to create a buffer between our processes and the nearest residentially zoned areas. I stumbled a little bit. The houses along the west side of Bloom, they're all abandoned down along this side. You have some residents along Monart in this area. And what we did was strategically place these operations. And as I mentioned, we have processing is to the nearest residentially zoned area is 500 foot, which is a city requirement. But the nearest occupied residential zone, which is over here, is almost 2 football fields away from the area. What we also did, distance is a big part of this buffer, and that's why we moved the truck scales to the far east end to put 250 foot from residentially zoned areas. And then some other strategies would be, the buffer is either solid walls, using existing tree cover, adding additional trees, basically trying to make that a soft buffer between us and residentially zoned areas. And this is just an example. This is in our Toledo operation. And this is what I mean by layering of landscape and placement of, well, the building was kind of there, but there's fencing in the background, and an operation such as this is behind this tree line back here. This is the view that could be seen from the residentially zoned area across the street. So way I've always done these things is I've always tried to make sure I make a soft transition between our operation to the surroundings. So that's the strategy that we did in this area. Now, whoops, that's not a good sign.
Jim, you're on mute.
I know, I got muted. Okay, I didn't think that was a good sign. But these are some of the listings of things that we're looking to do to mitigate some of the impacts associated with our operation. And the truck traffic is placing distance between truck traffic and residentially zoned areas that I mentioned, 250 foot away from those areas, plus a buffer. It's a 1 shift operation. The rail traffic, we are positioning the entrance in our facility centralized between Mound and Ryan to avoid any sort of signals going off during the operation to service our operation. Noise is placing solid walls, increasing tree lines, additional elements, and position buildings and fence in ways to basically deflect noise that would perhaps occur in that area. And then on the drainage, a big push by the city of Detroit is to implement green infrastructure, which is some of the things that we've been doing at some of our other operations. And green infrastructure is basically using a lot of natural elements, meaning ditches and vegetation, to basically take advantage of the ability to filter and the ability to remove sediments and other pollutants that come off of industrial operations prior to entering into the city's combined sewer. As far as dust is concerned, it's placement of strategic placement of hard surfaces and high erosion areas. What you're trying to do is eliminate the breaking down of the surface, and then dust suppressants and inspections. That's the only way you're going to be able to stay on top of these things. And we have to do it. We have to do it at several operations where it's basically a management plan, whereas you don't want to have fugitive dust coming from these operations. You want to make sure you keep things down. And that's all part of like a management plan that it depends on the jurisdiction about having a submitted plan, records, things of that sort. And then as far as view is concerned, what are the strategies I'm trying to do in this is that using the landscaping by diverting traffic in certain ways, what I'm trying to do is so if you drive down Davison, you don't see the operation. You don't see the piles. You don't see the trucks will pull off, then they vanish behind a fence. The idea is so that you don't see the operation. It's there because it's a necessary industrial service to the steel industry, but it's buffered away from the public. And that's all I had. So I will take any questions at this time.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, this is Commissioner Jonathan Kinlock. My question, when you have these type of uses going into a location that's been abandoned for a number of years, is a more intense use or an operation that, the community isn't necessarily used to. First question is, along Menard Street, how many occupied dwellings exist on that street currently?
Leonard, I believe you have, based upon the research of the residents, I believe you have 6 or 7 that are in that area.
Was there any conversation, because there's going to be some residue effects, has been any conversations around relocating those residents? Because when you're bringing, that's has been my thought of when you bring in intense uses into areas that are already under distress, that you try to improve the quality of life of individuals and not worsen the life of individuals, quality of life of individuals, because it's going to be an environmental change. You're doing everything you can as far as some of the buffers that you're speaking of. I understand that it is an industrial use, but you got to keep in mind that in many instances, when those industrial uses were established, they should not have had residential there in the first place. We've learned a lot. I served on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 9 years. What I'm asking is, has there been any conversation of relocating those 6 residents so that you would lessen the impact, negative impact on the surrounding contiguous properties?
There has not been conversation about relocation. I'm just writing things down. Babe.
Let me kind of chime in there a little bit, Commissioner Kinlock. And that's the reason that I understand what you're saying, but that's the reason that we're pulling all these mitigation efforts in place, and we're aware of the surroundings there currently. And as Mr. Schollenberger just mentioned, we're at least 2 football fields away from the activity, and maybe that's a little harder to visualize sitting here right now. But with the things that we bring, and as I said, the jobs, we look to increase the jobs, and some of them are temporary construction jobs, but then 8 to 10 permanent jobs. But the way the mitigation efforts that we're putting in place, we're hoping that suffices, or we expect that should suffice. But I understand your concerns, and we'll make note of it.
Thank you.
I appreciate the question. I'll talk with
Commissioner Birch here. May I speak? Hello.
Please, Ms. Birch.
I thank you so much, sir. I just wanted to share and back up what County Commissioner just said. Has there been any outreach to the public? I'm talking about the people that really are stakeholders in District 3, that the area you're picking, will it be affecting the church called Green Grove and all the way over to where Mountain Road extends over there by the graveyard site, all of that? When you all go out to place things in our community, did you consult the people to see, is it a better location? See, because when you say Davison, sir.
Ms. Birch, you chimed out for a second.
What?
Ms. Birch? Yeah, I think you went on mute for a second, Ms. Birch.
On mute, Ms. Birch.
You're on mute, Ms. Birch. There you go.
Now it's okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say, sir, thank you so much. Many times that we have plans for our area, that did you take into consideration what we want to attract is businesses like a Menards, like a Ace. Will this affect them? Looking at this building that you plan to build, will it affect their decision? Why would I put a building like Menards or even an IKEA, which, like I said, we're building up our 3rd district to a better, higher level and a higher quality of life. So that's my question. Would somebody like them want to move if they see your building?
Hey, Jim, let me touch on this, and then maybe you can piggyback for a second. Well, Ms. Birch, typically in developments, companies such as the ones you mentioned like to come places where they can expand upon activity that's already there. If there's no activity already there, then chances are that they don't locate there. So this kind of activity will then spur more development because we've paved the way for more activity. I've been a part of other developments the same way, is that that's what they think. They want to know what's going on right now. If nothing else is going on, chances are they don't want to relocate. They want to expand from a base, from something that's already there. And so we look at this as a good opportunity to expand the base. So as far as big box stores or other ones like that, that's typically the way they think. I haven't spoken with them, or we haven't spoken with them, but that's typically the way they think. And as far as community engagement goes, that's what we're doing right now, Ms. Birch, with 11th Precinct. And we had a meeting the other day, and my colleague on the porch, I don't remember at the residents' home, because that was a community organization. And you just mentioned a church that we'd like to also come and make sure that we take your comments seriously. And that's why we're doing what we're doing right now.
So this is not a done deal. Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, no, it's not a done deal.
And if I could contribute.
Thank you.
And if I could contribute, I'm Brant Johnson with Compass Strategies, associate with Terrence Hicks, who's assisting OmniSource and Jim Schellenberger. We had a community meeting with Heavenly Star last week, where we actually sat on the porch with Miriam Harris, and Mr. Schellenberger was able to give a presentation to the community directly near the proposed site, Caldwell Street and 6 Mile, 1 block south of the proposed development, and 1 block east of Buffalo, which would be a proposed entrance. So we are definitely giving an effort to communicate with the community and get their feedback and tell them what the development is all about. So we're other than this meeting today, we are making efforts to get into the community.
Okay, one more statement, please. And what I'm going to say is, based on the Sanborn map and all that you presented to us, I understand why you selected the location, because of the railroads and because of the configuration, the majority portion of the parcel being industrial use. It's just that for me, that there's a personal concern that I have coming from Southwest Detroit, being raised in Southwest Detroit, that when we expand or reestablish industrial uses, that what we should do is, especially now that we got all of this money coming from everywhere, if it is possible to relocate, especially we're talking about a few homes, 6 homes, if you can go into some sort of discussion, because you can't force people out. But if at least have the conversation about relocating the individuals. So that's the only thing I'd say there. But I absolutely understand. And so my concerns and comments, don't take it as if I'm in opposition, because something this intense, this is the most appropriate location where this should be held. But I'm just saying, using it as a broader opportunity to mitigate, the environmental injustice that, Black and brown communities have to endure. So that's it. That's all.
There's, and you hit it on the head as far as like the functional, the layout and the proximity, the railroad is pretty much the reason why. And there's other railroad properties in Detroit, but in our operation, Norfolk Southern / Conrail is our supplier, is our service provider. So we're somewhat limited at that one as well. And then to address the issue of other development there, it's a fairly narrow site, and a lot of times that type of site, some other developments, other larger industrial operations such as that probably wouldn't go after that sort of parcel because it's too narrow. It's long and narrow. So, but that's my comment to that. I mean, that's just from my end.
Yeah, and also Commissioner Kinlock, we'd be more than happy to, take this further. And that's the reason we're having this meeting now, to, take your suggestions, take a look at it and talk with you further at another meeting if need be.
I'm
available for that. Thank you.
I have a question. To Jim, what is OmniSource? Does it have a terms of policy as it relates? What is their policy as terms of social community responsibility? And the reason why I asked that is because as Sister Birch Commissioner Burks was trying to bring the issue up. There are some things in District 3 that the community, we're trying to build up a community that becomes a common good for all. And right at the right time now, we seem to be losing. They seem to be bringing in more recycling places, you know, where people around, where Black people live. And I don't see the community benefit of how we benefit from the process of these recycling and truck industry. The Barone family on Van Dyke and Outer
Yes.
Drive, they're bringing in trucking. Chrysler has brought in trucking over in the Mac area. And it just seems that in the Black community is where recycling is done. And one other questions before you ask about your corporate social responsibility to a community. The metal that you'll be reprocessing, are these metal, are they simply body and white metal, or are they metal that have been painted by process, or is this metal that has been probably scrapped because of the automobile industry was not able to put them in cars? What I mean by body and white, I mean have not been painted or have not been primed.
Okay, to address the issue on the scrap coming out is engineered scrap. It obsolete. It's not even part of our processing in this operation. This is strictly an industrial. It would be referred to as an industrial yard. It wouldn't be taking primed. It wouldn't be taking scrap sub-assemblies. That sort of material is actually either contained at, like for instance, like the Stellantis Warren facility. That material wouldn't come off of the site. It would stay on that side and be processed there. We don't get a lot of primed and painted materials. This type of material for this type of operation here. This, as I was showing you, the stampings of the busheling, the mill busheling, the foundry busheling, that's what they call it in the scrap industry. It's clean, sometimes it's coated galvanized.
But you do get some.
Some what?
Get some prime metal.
You might get some prime and painted getting in there in some way, but I wouldn't say the vast majority is a clean engineered scrap.
And what about corporate social responsibility as it relates to a community?
Well, OmniSource has always been, we pride ourselves on being a good corporate neighbor. Now, as far as like addressing the social agenda and things of that sort, Pastor, I couldn't give you a good, I can't give you a canned answer on that. I mean, I know that our policy is we always want to be, we want to be able to provide jobs to the community. We want to be able to help the community. We often support, youth groups and things of that sort. But, I unfortunately, I don't have the right answer to give you that.
Can I chime in a little bit there, Jim? As far as a corporate or community policy, the same as with the city or what have you, that's currently not in place right now. But, that's the reason that we are meeting with the community now to tell them about the operation. And as we stated earlier, this is clean steel. And as also that we stated that you needed to have some kind of operations or presence to expand on, and you have to start someplace. And as far as property taxes and things of that nature, that'll begin to help the community right then and there. And so we'll look forward. We have to come back again based on your discussions and or your questions. We'd be more than happy to do so because that's the reason that we're having the meeting, so we can listen to your concerns, try to fix what they are, and then come back again and present again if need be.
Okay, that sounds pretty good because I like that. Okay, Terrence.
Okay, we have Kenneth Davis.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm president of CRC Block Club. Well, how far down will your property extend You're gonna come, the trucks are gonna drive down Bloom Street. And how far to the west will your property extend?
Let me go back to the,
I think you just passed.
okay. Yeah, do you see that, Mr. Davis?
Yeah.
Okay. Our current project, while we own this area here, we've entered into a purchase agreement with Conrail. The project only extends to Monart. And trucks come down, they're not coming down Bloom. Bloom and Phyllis and Monart remain intact. The plan is to come in off of Davison. And with these properties being removed, not removed, but redeveloped, so the trucks would come in off of Davison in this direction. So it doesn't impact.
They're gonna come in off of Buffalo.
They're going to come in off. Well, right now we are pursuing the vacation, basically the closing up of Buffalo, and then replacing that with a driveway that's more industrial appropriate. Buffalo is a residential street. It's designed as a residential street. It's not designed as an industrial entrance. So therefore, we're proposing to put in another entrance parallel to Buffalo, but we're looking to basically develop over the top of Buffalo.
Okay.
So there would be no impact to the idea of having trucks going down Fenelon, Lamont, Healy, any of those. No, we don't want to do that. It should come off of a major road. All truck traffic should come off of a major road. It should never impact a residential street.
So in order to eliminate the noise for the residents that's west of Bloom, I believe a 12-foot brick wall should be put up going down Bloom all the way to your property and then going west to the length of your property. And
On the length of property. That's it.
Not the
this
length
part
of
here.
it's gonna work, the length of your property, because if demand picks up, you're gonna use all of that.
If that's a lot of material.
That'll keep sound, all the noise that you make in the process,
Mhm.
all the trucks coming in, that'll keep the sound just like they do on the freeway out in the white neighborhoods.
Mhm.
They have 12-foot brick walls.
Yes.
So the noise off the freeway won't be heard by the residents. You
Right.
got a park over there, you at least gotta go down past the park.
Okay, Pat, I see your hand is up.
Hi, good evening. I have several questions. First of all, a question through the chair. If you would permit me to ask Terrence Hicks a question?
Sure.
Mr. Hicks, you're representing Compass Strategies. Is it true that Compass Strategies still has a contract to represent the Detroit Water and Sewage Department?
That would be correct.
Is this kind of a possible conflict of interest in terms of your contract with this DWSD?
No, we don't see it as such.
Well, there were comments made in the presentation that there would be drainage issues. I think we need a more in-depth understanding of what those drainage issues would entail. There was some mention of trying to mitigate those drainage issues with all kinds of possibilities. But when we look at this drawing, we see that the area that has diagonal lines through it is the area of focus for this particular phase. But I'm concerned about the corner to the right where Davison meets the railroad track. How will that be developed? Or will it be
before Mr. Schollenberger answers the question on how that would be developed, let me ask you the question in regards to DWSD. yes, they are a client, but even if they were not a client and we were just working with OmniSource solely, we would go through all of the entities that the city of Detroit requests that we have to go through, Planning Commission and otherwise, to get final approval from this. We're a ways away from any kind of approval because we have to touch base with all of the entities that have anything to do with the approval, Ms. Bosch. And so DWSD, as far as you're stating about the drainage, and we're going through the approval process with the city, if they bring that as a concern to them, we will certainly address that.
Because one of the industrial companies that does take hazardous waste in is called US Ecology North. And that has been a very controversial site because of where it's located and the fact that it does need a permit from, it's called ECO now, instead of Great Lakes Water. I mean, instead of, first of all, will you need a permit from Eagle to be able to use this site?
It depends on, it all depends on when we start to go through the process of submitting our plans and going through the Detroit Sewer District to determine if there has to be a permit for discharge related to industrial activities. If you're going to do any sort of stormwater discharge related to industrial activities, meaning when the water comes across this industrial operation, what are the pollutants that come down off that operation? You have to put together stormwater pollution prevention plans that are best management practice plans that highlight these items that you are doing at this facility to minimize the impacts by the stormwater going into the combined sewer, which is a little more tolerant than just straight storm sewers. So there are going to be requirements as far as is there a sampling requirement? It really depends. Some facilities do require quarterly visual sampling and quarterly analytical sampling that you look against benchmarks. It all depends on how this plan, as it starts going through and we start inquiring with the environmental agencies, what are the requirements going to be. There's all different ways that can go, but what we try to do is implement best management practices that we know work in the scrap industry. What you're trying to address in the scrap industry is you're trying to address sediment, you're trying to address oils and greases, and you're trying to address metals, soluble metals. That is not. Those are the items that you try to address, and those are the things that you analyze to make sure you have your benchmarks, you meet your benchmarks. So we're very early in the process on this. We're very familiar with what comes off of operations such as this. We're not a hazardous waste operation. We have a strict list of items that are prohibited at this facility. That includes hazardous waste, PCBs, asbestos, you name it. Those are items that come in at shredder yards, but not at an industrial yard. So we have to make sure. Go ahead.
Right. My concern is the fact not so much over the area that you have diagonally striped, but you said that you have acquired the entire parcel from the intersection of Davison and the railroad track all the way to Healy. So as is often the case with many of these operations, it's kind of comes in on a small scale, but in time, the neighbors start to really feel the gross impacts of a big operation. And this sizable land certainly has the potential of becoming that. And I think in fairness to all the community, as Shirley Birch stated, we're concerned about the welfare of our entire District 3. And not too long ago, on the other side of the prison complex, on the Nevada side, we had a major plume of contaminated air that was coming off a battery manufacturing plant. So we're concerned of particulate matter in particular, because as we monitored the expansion of City Airport, or otherwise known as Coleman A. Young Municipal Airport, the environmental impacts and especially the particulate matter make us very concerned, because it's not just you, it would be the potential total of all the uses that are coming into District 3. And the city has just invested in a big residential development in the former convent of the Transfiguration Church up there at Mound Road and 6 Mile. And so we have a historic area that is being considered for designation in the Crans Woods neighborhood. So I think what is really important is that we make time at other meetings to sit down with community leaders, and we can bring your plans and show us the complete phase of not only phase 1, but maybe phase 2, 3, and 4 of what you want to do, and explicitly what type of landscaping would be done here, not just a reference to a tree line. And that way we would know for sure whether Eagle will be involved to protect our neighborhood. One last question. As is often the case with what these city projects, there's always a reference to tax base. So in all honesty, Mr. Schoenberger, is your company going to pursue some tax breaks, industrial facilities, exemptions, or the like?
Currently, we're not pursuing any tax abatement.
Currently. Okay.
I'm the project manager. I'm not doing any sort of applications for any sort of tax abatement this time.
I can bring reference to the Cadillac stamping plant at Connor and Gratiot. That was, and one more question. Are you working at all with DEGC, Detroit Economic Growth Corp?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay, thank you very
Madam
much.
Chair, okay, Madam Chair, may I speak?
Hold 1 second. We're gonna take one more question, because it is almost 10 after 7 and we still have a couple of other speakers. So Ms. Birch, we'll go ahead and let you take this one, and then we
Just a small comment, Ms. Chair, thank you. I just want to thank Pastor, can't call his name. The
Kim
pastor, no, not you, I'm sorry. But to Pat, you're explaining exactly what I'm saying. In the first place, how did this meeting come about? That there are a lot of leaders do not know about this meeting. I wouldn't have known if it had not been for Ms. Bosch. So a lot of things sneak into our neighborhoods. We don't know it until it's built. So would you please contact everybody, including myself, for the next 2 months? My title is what they love to use, is Commissioner Birch, not Mrs. Birch. So I thank Pastor over there. Pat, tell me his name. The pastor I'm talking about that use the title that these people love to use, titles.
Sure.
Yeah, Pastor Brewer, that's what I'm saying. So I do have a title for a little while, but I'm a stakeholder living in the city of Detroit in 3rd District all my life. So I think you're due to us to ask our opinion of what we want in our neighborhood. And like I said, we want quality. We want senior citizens lofts. We want things that's going to build our children up. And that's that reservoir over there behind Pleasant Grove. We want to build that whole area, which is a train track. So even though, sir, you might be saying, Jim, that it's only so far your trucks are going to go. How many trucks go up and down DeQuinta that aren't supposed to be there? They do it because they get away with it. Then you have 6 Mile where it takes you to I-75. So no matter how many times you tell us they're only going to be X, Y, and Z, we don't know. You don't know, because it seems to be they take us for granted. You can build anything negative in District 3. That's why you got all the marijuana clinics. Now we have a sign that says respect and love where you live. I thank you for the time, Ms. Jackson.
Okay.
Commissioner Birch, if you can put that's the reason that we're here. We're kindred spirits in that respect. We want to make sure that we are corporate neighbors, good corporate neighbors. And with that being the case, the reason that we're here is not just specifically for the 11th precinct, but for those that attend that are a part of other community organizations that we want to address and make sure that they have all the information that they need in order to support this initiative. So if you can possibly include your contact information, Commissioner Birch, we'll reach out to you and any organizations that are in the area, we would be more than happy to make the same kind of presentation and then take your comments and questions and try to build upon what we're already doing to make this a better neighborhood.
Thank
I
you, Ms.
share my
Jackson
contact.
has that.
Yes, thank you so much. And Mr. Hicks, thank you so much for reaching out. We just appreciate you just reaching out and talking to the community. And of course, I know we'll have more conversation. So thank you all for attending. Jim, thank you so much.
I appreciate your time.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really quick, Ms. Birch, if you can provide your information in the chat, or whomever else that would like to have a meeting involving OmniSource, would you provide your information in the chat, and we'll be glad to respond back to you. We love it. Thank you.
And Terrence, you have my email, so please feel free to reach out when you need to and include me on your meetings as well. I would appreciate that.
I will do so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more from Sullenberg. Sullenberg.
Oh, I see your hand up. Where did he go?
I think he was waving by.
Oh, he was waiting. Okay, okay. Just wanted to make sure wasn't missing anything. Okay. Commissioner Birch, would you like to give us any updates regarding District 3?
Let me unmute myself. Yes, thank you, Ms. Jackson. The first thing I would like to this group to know the progress of the Youth Connection and the Water Department. That's the DSW, the one that we're having troubles with. Anyway, regarding painting fire hydrants, may seem like a little thing to you, but through the Youth Connection, I reached out to Dr. Dudley to go back on the word of Mr. Gary Brown that he would paint every fire hydrant and have been painted. There will be postcards sent to the residents where that fire hydrant is located. Is because it brings beauty. That's what we are about, the name Community United for Progress. I am also for years. You see the beauty there. So we need to take what's already here and add on it to make our neighborhood more vibrant. We also have beautification of our businesses through Neighborhood Day. Everybody knows about Luther Keith. We came together with the mayor's department, Ms. Kiana Session knows this, to beautify our gas stations. We only had 4 that obliged us to sweep up their area. And the only question you had to ask that manager of that particular gas station, does the gas station look like this where you live? And all of them said no. So that's my point. We have got to make people accountable to beautify where they are. Last but not least is that we as stakeholders in this area, like Mr. Brewer, Pastor Brewer, Pat, and there's, like I said, so many others, we want to come up to the standard of a almost gated community. All of the crime in working with Chief White, we've given him so many suggestions, and also, Commander Blackwell's on the line, to know that we are partners. We work together to solve these issues. We're not the enemy. So when anything comes into our neighborhood that is negative, we're going to address it. But you must allow us to communicate and have input. Last thing I'm going to say is that there will be a business. And if you have not driven around 3rd District, it says love and respect where you live. Those are words that need to be over the entire world because there's too much hate. There's too much prejudice. So if you want to know more about that, I'm on the website. I have a website. I'm on email. Anybody can reach me that want to really flourish District 3. I thank you for the time, Ms. Jackson.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Ken, I know you have to get ready to go. I'm gonna give you your minute, to just make your announcement, and then we're gonna.
Thank you, President Jackson.
Absolutely.
Hello, this is Ken Scott from actually from the 12th Precinct. So we're your neighboring precinct. I'm first vice president, but at the same time, I'm not coming to you in that title. We are conducting a District 2 and District 3 candidate forum on next Tuesday between 6 and 8. That's Tuesday, October 19th from 6 to 8 on Zoom. For those of you that are on the Facebook pages of the 11th Precinct East Side Coalition Community Resource Forum is actually the entity that's given it. You are my second favorite precinct because my organization, my nonprofit, actually started in your precinct more so than any other. We are trying to enlighten the public about the issues that are out there. We're going to have some, what do you call it, some conversation regarding the proposals on the ballot, as well as those individuals that are running for write-in candidates. Unfortunately, the incumbents cannot make it that day, but at the same time, I implore you to come on, listen to the candidates that are vying for that seat. Sometimes those individuals that are vying for the seat are least known, but at the same time may have some value as it relates to what they espouse to do in the future and what the districts or the city at large should be doing in order to progress forward. Please tune in Tuesday, October 19th from 6 to 8. Our host and moderator will be Livonia Perriman's show of 9:10 a.m. Superstation. And we will have some panelists, and I believe we will ask some pertinent questions that are specific not only to District 2, but District 3 as well, and come to be enlightened and ask the questions that are pertinent to you and your situation and your community. So President Jackson, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure addressing the 11th Precinct, and I thank you all for your time.
Yeah, are you putting any information in the chat, Ken?
Actually, I didn't know if I could share the screen for a minute or.
Well, you know, unfortunately, we gotta keep moving.
All right, well, let me do it this way.
If you come back, I'll be more than happy, but I do want to get my other speakers going though.
Not a problem. If you all can, again, look on the Facebook page, Community Resource Forum, bringing resources to your community, as well as the 11th Precinct Community Relations. The posts are on those particular Facebook pages, and they will be going out across the city just to alert you when it's taking place. And the meeting ID and the passcode are there. So for your disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ken.
You all have a great and safe evening.
You do the same, thanks. Mr. Wire, I know you wanted to make an announcement. Brianna, I have not forgotten about you. I'm getting ready to come back to you. I know a couple of people have to jump off, so I'm gonna grab them real quick, but you are next on my list, dear, so give me 1 second. Mr. Wire, I know you have an announcement you would like to make.
Yes. In addition to being the treasurer of the 11th Precinct Community Relations Council, I'm also the president of the Farwell Tennis Club. And currently, we are in the process of developing a junior tennis league. And what I need is kids to participate. Looking at youth from 7 to 17. And what I've done, I've left my email in the chat room. So, and I think I did this right, but Kim, I typed it in, and after that, what do I do? Hit enter or?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, you got, because you got to make sure it takes it. So you got to hit your enter so it can pop up in the box. Can you see it? Not yet. Okay. Let me know when you hit enter, and I'll have Sergeant Cruz check.
Yeah, I think it's in there now.
It's there now.
But what I'm looking for is the youth's name, age, school, if they have any tennis experience at all. And what we plan on doing, we won't be playing outside because, of course, it's getting ready to become winter. But we're going to secure an inside tennis facility to train them at, and we'll be using the Farwell Recreation Center for things such as lectures or, maybe tutoring. We're in the process of developing our program now. But what I really want to do is get some kids' names and put them together so that I can create a list of the youth that we have. And then we'll go to the USTA. We can get funding from the USTA to conduct this junior tennis league. So I've left my email address in the chat room. You can go in there and see it. And hopefully we'll get a lot of kids. I will concentrate on District 3 first, depending on how many youth we get. If we don't get enough out of District 3, I will be glad to accept kids or youth from other areas.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Wyatt?
Thank you.
Thank you. Great program. Hope you get a lot of kids to turn out.
I do too.
Yeah, that's really keep them busy, especially during the winter months.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Brianna, from Wayne State, how are you this evening?
I'm well, how are you?
Good. Thanks for holding on.
Okay, so about how much time do I have? Because this can be a long presentation or a relatively quick presentation.
Well, we depart at 8, but I still have to get to my city officials. I do, so I can do it this way. I can get to them first and then bring you up in the rear, or you can take just maybe 10, 15 minutes and then you can go now. So it's your call.
Yeah, I won't exceed 15 minutes. How about?
Okay, that's great. I'll let you have at it.
Okay, I have a PowerPoint.
Okay.
I just need to share my screen.
Yep, we're ready to get you on now.
Awesome.
Okay, there you go. We can see you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Brianna and I'm from Wayne State University. And I'm going to talk to you guys about how us researchers and Think Lab are looking to engage the community and kind of give everyone an overview of what we do, who we are, what we study, and how we like to take what we study and give back to the community. So this is my email. I will also put it in the chat for anybody who is interested. So I have a little video. Oh, it doesn't look like it wants to play. Hold on one second. No, why is this not playing? Okay, well, I did have a video. Enable content, perhaps. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect.
Our memories and experiences play a huge role in who we are today. Specifically, traumatic experiences can shape our perception of the world and even how we function at the level of our brains. Unfortunately, this is a reality.
No, God, technology. What did I just do? Hold on. I'll go back here.
Our memories and experiences play a huge role in who we are today. Specifically, traumatic experiences can shape our perception of the world and even how we function at the level of our brains. Unfortunately, this is a reality for an alarming number of individuals. National survey data shows that nearly 2/3 of youth will experience one or more trauma before their 18th birthday. That's why at the Think Lab at Wayne State University, we focus on the impact of trauma and how it can lead to the development of anxiety, depression, PTSD, using several neuroscientific techniques, things like fMRI and EEG. Our research has only been possible through funding from the National Institute of Mental Health. Federal funding of mental health related research is crucial, now more so than ever. Our nation may be facing an unprecedented mental health crisis due to the stressors placed on children during the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to support the youth of our country, funding is needed to figure out why trauma can lead to the development of mental disorders and figure out how we can stop this. Our research informs the development of interventions that can be implemented early on in a child's life. Thanks to federal funding, we hope that our research can guide the understanding of mental disorders that have been an absolute mystery for decades.
Okay, so that is a little bit of an overview of what we do. So this is us at Think Lab. And I'm going to quickly just kind of go over our team. Dr. Hillary Marusek, she is the PI of the lab. She does all things related to trauma. We just brought on Dr. Zundel, and she's really interested in looking at how air pollution ultimately changes the neurodevelopment of children and leads to conditions like anxiety. Oh, and then there was me. So who cannot do technology at 8 p.m. apparently. So and I'm really looking at Detroit youth and trying to understand circumstances surrounding community violence and gun violence and how that leads to changes in neurodevelopment. So I'm going to quickly go over some of the studies that we have. And the first one is the DRIVE study. So it's the Detroit Research on Youth Violence Exposure. And right now it is a survey opportunity for teenagers, so ages 14 to 18. And really what it is a 2-part study that compensates $25 upon completion. And questions that we ask are surrounding community violence exposure, opinions about the neighborhood and neighborhood disorder, as well as mental health outcomes. So we are looking to distribute this survey to families. And that's the first thing that we have. And then the second one is another survey study. And this is open for 10 to 17-year-olds in Detroit and Metro Detroit. And this study is really looking at brain development, how children and teens deal with stress, and consequently how these things influence mental health outcomes. This is another 2-part survey. So first the parent has to take the survey, and then the child gets to take the survey. And this compensates $20. And then also everything that is responded into this survey kind of goes into like an eligibility screener for a much larger study, which is really cool because we get to bring kids into the lab for a study visit. And I have another video, and hopefully I don't mess this up. So there we go.
Hi, my name is Zaze, and I am a parent and teacher in Detroit. I'm also a researcher at the Wayne State University Think Lab. Here at the Think Lab, we are conducting the ABCD study to learn about the things that children and teens experience and emotional well-being during COVID-19. Learning about this can help us develop new ways to support families and improve mental health among children and teens, especially those who experience stress. You and your child may be eligible to participate in the study if you live in Metro Detroit and your child is between the ages of 10 and 17. As a parent, you would first complete a brief online survey, which would be around 10 minutes, about yourself and your child. You can complete this on your phone, computer, or tablet. Then your 10 to 17-year-old will be provided a link to complete the youth survey, which will also be around 10 minutes. Once both you and your child complete the surveys, you will receive a $20 e-gift card, which will be $10 for the parent survey and $10 for the youth survey. This gift card can be used at hundreds of different online retailers. After taking the survey, you and your child may be eligible for a larger study that pays $180. This study is voluntary and anonymous, so your information and responses will remain confidential. This means that we will never use your name or your child's name or information in any report. Participating in research is completely voluntary, and you can stop the survey by closing the browser at any point. Participating in research is a great opportunity to give back and would be a gift to help future families deal with stress. Participating will help researchers learn how to better support families and improve mental health in kids. Thank you for your time, and please do not hesitate to contact the research team.
Okay, so that's kind of like an overview of everything that we do in our lab. We actually have a couple more studies that have different outcome measures and stuff like that. These two studies are the main studies that are driving changes with interventions and such for Detroit youth. And we like to create these little videos in order to make research seem like less scary. I think when I probably came on, half of you maybe were like, research, that sounds awful. And I don't want my child participating in that. So we're really doing this big, large push in order to gain participants for research, because it's a good experience for kids to come into the lab. They get to come to Wayne State University, play with brains, do a lot of activities. They get to see their own brain as an image, like on the MRI scanner. And it's a good opportunity to engage with the Detroit youth. So that's kind of an overview, but what does all this data mean? What does our research mean? How do we give it back to the community? How do we inform community interventions with this? Well, let's see. Okay, so some of the key findings. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the work that I did coming from Children's Hospital of Michigan when I began my research career there. So I looked at over 300 pediatric gunshot wound cases that came into Children's Hospital, Detroit Receiving, and Sinai Grace Hospital. And basically, this develops a study. In the research world, we like to take data and tell a story about that. We produced this story that came up with a couple key findings. So beginning from 2013 onward, we are seeing an increase in firearm violence. We know this, and we know that the 2020 pandemic has only made this problem worse. And this study was done prior to that. So this study was conducted from 2013 to 2017. And the main findings were that this looks awful when it's spread. But basically, we created a heat map of looking at the incidence of firearm related injuries. And what that just means is a fancy word of saying the number of cases. So we care about where these firearm injuries are coming from, because we want to be able to take our interventions and focus them on the highest risk neighborhood first before going outward into other communities. And you can see that the west side of Detroit had most of the incident rates. Again, this is sampling size from 2013 to 2017, and it's strictly data from the Detroit Medical Center hospital system. So these green and yellow areas that we see, our district is over here. Maybe most of those cases are going to Ascension, and it's just missing data in this regard. But nonetheless, tracking the numbers of firearm cases is really helpful in informing community interventions and telling us where we should start first, because Detroit is also a really big place. So more things that come out of this is when we identify high-risk zip codes, we can kind of look at these circumstances surrounding injury. So was there an increase in drive-by shootings? Did we see more cases resulting from an unlocked gun? Should we go into that specific zip code and give out more gun locks and more community resources that's talking about safe firearm storage? Things that are crime related or, drive-by, those things can be fixed with infrastructure policy. So it's really helping us, map where things are occurring and why they're occurring. Identifying 8 zip codes as high risk accounted for more than half of the patient population. So imagine being able to take resources and direct them into these specific zip codes. You would gain a majority of a population with 52% of our patients. Some other things that you can do with circumstance data is like then look at the age and common, so infants and young children, it was 5 and under. Older children was like 6 to 13, and adolescents were these 14 to 17-year-olds. And when we talk about circumstances surrounding injury, and then you then split it by age, you can see that there are certain circumstances that are more prevalent with the older adolescents. So drive-by shootings, there's more unknown cases, which means that they're just not reporting on what actually happened. But you can also see that with the older children, pre-adolescents, that there's a lot of circumstances coming from unlocked guns. So, it really helps inform where we need our resources based on, are we going to target the middle school age or the high school age? And we know that when we're looking at younger children, our aim is prevention. And when we're looking at older children, our aim is like resource allocation. So some more things. This is the most recent study that we have out of Think Lab, and it's a really foundational study in that we looked at a cohort of Detroit youth and we matched them based on age and gender to suburban youth and asked them a bunch of questions related to their experience with violence exposure. Whoops. And what this study found was that there were a whole lot of things that Detroit youth were reporting that were in terms of community violence exposure compared to the suburban counterparts. I'm not going to get into all these little endorsements, but the main findings from this is that as violence exposure is increasing, so are the anxiety symptoms. Also, Detroit youth reported a significantly different number of depression symptoms compared to their non-urban or suburban counterparts. But what's really interesting, aside from all these statistical lingo, is that there were some key things that came from this study that was really driving the anxiety and depression that we see in our Detroit youth. So those children that report hearing gunshots were 13 times more likely to exceed what we're calling clinical thresholds for detecting anxiety. So Detroit youth, if they are living in an environment that is constantly initiating fear, right? So they're hearing gunshots, they are going to develop anxiety and depression symptoms. And when we talk about endorsing certain community violence exposures, we know that it's not like a one-stop shop, right? Things accumulate. So they might be living in a community that they hear gunshots all the time, and they might be experiencing something in the home that is also provoking anxiety or depression symptoms. But really learning like which things drive anxiety and depression in Detroit youth is a way for us as researchers to develop interventions. So with research, we do this thing where we talk about data, which I just did. And that may or may not be appealing to people because data is data, right? So we really wanted to find a way of taking this data and bringing it out into the community. So we created this organization called Science Policy Network Detroit. And this is just a big fancy organization that is looking to connect policymakers, the scientists, and the community. In an effort of time, I'm going to spare this video, but we created this big action group initiative that addresses 4 environmental hazards in the city of Detroit. So we talk about water injustices, air pollution, lead exposure, and of course, community violence. So what we have been doing is putting our team out into the field. So each action group has like 15 or so members. And this is how I actually became involved with the 11th Precinct, just through this community violence action group. And we have been out in the community all summer, and we have been asking Detroit residents how gun violence has affected them, asking for feedback and doing our qualitative analysis on that, and taking that data and informing policy briefs. And we have met with like Stephanie Chang, Senator Bayer, all these senators who are working higher up and policy levels and taking everything that we've learned from this big initiative, which is still ongoing, and advocating for certain things. So the goal of the Community Violence Action Group is to increase firearm safety through background checks and licensing restrictions and child access protection laws, but also by talking about things like Detroit's infrastructure and improving those things. When we go back to like circling back to like water injustices, we advocated for stopping the water shutoffs that was occurring during COVID-19 pandemic and things like that. So our group was really foundational in those things. And we really are, out in the community, and we are working towards taking what we know in the lab and applying it to the community. Some of the things that came out of this is this nice little infographic that I made. And we gave these out. We gave like 200 out over the course of the summer. These are some policy briefs, examples. Again, this is water. We made a map for the air pollution. Ooh, God, with the air pollution resources for Southwest Detroit, because they're heavily impacted by polluted air. So these are the things that we're giving back to the community, and also, attending events like this and community meetings like this in order to try to increase your input and community input into what we're doing. So I will leave it at that. I think I did okay with time, but learn more about us. Check out our website. WSUthinklab.com has all the information for participating in research. I don't know if you guys have an emailing list, but perhaps I can send out those flyers and you guys can distribute to your family and friends and participate in our survey. We're looking to develop interventions. That's our next step. And we can't develop interventions without data. And we get data by surveys and bringing kids into the lab. So yeah, check us out. And thank you so much for your time today.
Sure. Can you take your the email addresses and make sure they get in the chat too, just in case?
Yeah.
Thanks. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to write those email addresses down. Commissioner, you have your hand up.
You call Commissioner Birch?
Correct.
Yes, I thank you, Ms. Kim. I just wanted to say to Brianna, that was an excellent presentation, but I've always admired Wayne State's energy, and what I'm trying to say now, if I can get it out straight, to the guy that made the presentation about the place he wanted to make into a trash center, whatever, recycling, whatever. This is what I mean about Pat Bosch and I have had meetings in lieu of what Mr. Maroon wants to put at 8 Mile and Van Dyke. We said, why not put a mental health facility? This would complement what Wayne State, what you're doing down there, and then you can come in the neighborhood, Brianna, because mental health is not a Black issue. It affects all, but I understand what you're doing. But you have to understand that mental health starts in every race and every age. So you're starting out young to see what's going on with them, but nobody has learned the key, because it can pop up in anybody. And we share this all the time as a police commissioner. We debate all the time with officers having to address concerns of mental health people, and they don't know how to address that because they're not trained. So this is what Ms. Bosch and I want to see in our community. Things like this, when you have like Corville School all closed up, you have Mason School closed up. Why not let those companies come in and renovate them into vocational centers to teach our kids so they can learn like you, Brianna, and go to Wayne State? You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of times young people don't have the opportunity. So with all these buildings closed around us,
you on mute, Ms. Birch.
What did you say?
You were on mute. I see you unmuted yourself.
Oh, I did. Oh, I'm sorry. But no, I'm saying about these closed up buildings. Build them into something that's going to benefit our children, like an art center. Teach them skills and how to perhaps fix a car, how to build a house. That's through Russ Ballant. He's got all of those skills inside of him, but he doesn't have the opportunity to share it because we're too busy struggling of what should be in, and I'm speaking of District 3. That's all I want to say, but an excellent presentation. But if we had a mental health facility, think about what that would do for the whole country. A state of the art. I'm talking about with Henry Ford Hospital, come together and help everybody with a mental health illness. And it used to be back in the day, people were ashamed of their family members that had a mental health problem. Right, Brianna? You know, they think that's something that you should be ashamed of. But now it's more open because it affects different other cultures. But I know Blacks used to hide the people.
Right. Okay, we got.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kim.
Welcome, thank you. Joanne Manning, I see your hand is up. You can take yourself off mute.
Good afternoon, good evening. I didn't have a question, but I just wanted to speak, and I wanted to piggyback off of the last presentation that we just saw. Excellent, kudos to you guys down there at Wayne State. But again, my name is Joanne Manny, and I'm with Granny Farms. And we have property over there in District 3, and we're working on a new business in District 3. And I applaud what you guys are doing here today. This is not my first meeting that I've attended in this District 3. I've been to several meetings over the last few years because we also have a mobile vision clinic, and we operate out of District 3 throughout metropolitan Detroit. But our new business that we're bringing down to Detroit is we're trying to bring in a medical marijuana growth facility in Detroit. And one of the things that we're looking at, Wayne State is doing research as well as Michigan State University. So our plan is to partner up with the universities to do research. One of the research projects that Wayne State University is working on is with the Veterans Administration, and they're researching PSTD with the medical marijuana. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing, as well as community engagement and just being involved with the community. So I just wanted to get that out there. So we are working and looking at doing research with the university with our medical marijuana growth facility.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you for the update. Pastor Brewer, I see your hand up, but can you give me 1 second? Because I definitely want to get to Mr. Martin. He has some information that I want him to share with us really quick. Is that okay, Pastor?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll come right back to you. Mr. Martin, how are you this evening?
Good evening, Ms. Jackson. How are you? And to the 11th Precinct.
Thank you for attending and appreciate your patience.
Oh, absolutely. The chief judge was going to appear with me tonight, but he had a dental procedure today and he's just not able to do it. So he asked me to ask you, could he present his judges as well as updates at the next meeting?
Sure, yep, he can.
So we'll attend that. I just want to be brief. And I really wasn't going to talk about this, but everybody's talking about the mental health issue and the presentation by Ms. Borg and Commissioner Birch speaking on it. The 36th District Court has created a new specialty docket for mental health. Judge Shannon Holmes is presiding over it. And it's an initiative that was undertaken to address the high number of people suffering from mental health in the criminal justice system. We're going to provide help, educational services, as well as treatment and employment status, helping them for a better quality of life. Some people don't need to be incarcerated, they need help. And there are not many areas in this district and around the city that provide help for mentally challenged people and people who are suffering from mental health. So I think it's very important. And a docket was created to help in that way. I put my information in the chat room, and I just wanted to briefly hit on, since the last meeting, the eviction moratorium has expired. Evictions are going forward in the court, but there is still help from the SERA program. I put that information there. The phone number is 866-313-2520. The website is www.detroitevictionhelp.com, and they have funds available for those who are facing eviction. If you are presented with a notice, please do not skip your court date. Come to court. Our court eviction proceedings will be held virtually, And the advantage of that is that everyone that comes to court will have representation from a lawyer. We have lawyers there to help you and walk you through this process. There's no need for you to lose your home. There's help out there for you, and we want to provide that for you as well as the financial assistance that you need. There is money for past due rent, future rent, as well as utilities for those. And it's also help for landlords as well, because we realize that landlords have not been receiving funds and they have to pay taxes and upkeep and various things, so they need their money as well. So there's help for landlords as well as tenants. I'm going to keep it brief tonight because I know you have quite a few people to talk, but the chief will be here with the newly appointed judges next meeting, and they will talk about the different dockets that they're on and the new updates that we have from the court. I appreciate you letting me talk this evening. And once again, if you have any questions for me or anything that you need, my information is in the chat.
Okay, Mr. Martin, you stay in touch with me because I'm gonna make room on the agenda for the chief to talk. So the chief judge to talk. I wanna make sure that he has a spot on the agenda.
Okay.
So, you know, maybe, you know, in a couple of days or whenever, let's get together, make sure I have all the information. So I definitely can at least make room for him a good half hour or so, but you know, let me know how much time he'll need.
I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Back to you, Pastor Brewer.
Yes, I had a question for Brianna as concerning Think Lab and the tools that you presented. I was just wondering, is there, in terms of data, is there any way that could probably help us in terms of having a presentation to, I think it's OmniSource, as it relates to maybe the strength and weaknesses that OmniSource could bring to the community, whether if it's strengthening the community or weakening the community. Is there, in those tools, can we collect data to possibly to be able to put together a presentation of our position?
Yeah, I could talk data for hours if you guys let me. We have whatever it is that you need, just contact me. So we are really looking at like the root causes of anxiety and depression. And long story short, it is like neurodevelopment changes. So brain changes that are happening in youth at very early ages. Anxiety starts very early on, and it has to do with these fear centers in the brain. And there's a lot of different external circumstances that cause these fear centers to change. So our newest PI or our newest PhD that has joined our lab is looking at air pollution and the effects of mental health. She just started with us September 1st. So it takes some time to grab like Detroit related data, but I'm sure that she has stuff as evidence from the existing literature. So really whatever you need, I can help you make sense of data.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I see, I'm trying to think of who else I see. I see Mr. Stokes. I see you're on the line, president of Citywide Community Relations. Do you have any updates for us or anything you would like to share? Mr. Stokes, are you available? Are you on mute? Take yourself off mute. Okay, we'll keep it moving. Oh, there we go. Okay, there you are, Mrs. Stokes. Any updates you would like to provide us? Or any information you'd like to share with us?
My computer is acting a little weird right now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alvin Stokes. I'm the president of Citywide Citizens Police Community Relations to the
Yeah, it seems like you're buffering, so we kind of lost you there. Okay, how about we come back to you? Okay, we'll come back to him. Let's put him on mute. I see. Put him on mute. Okay, I see Miss Kiana Sessoms. Hi, how are you this evening? Do you have any updates to provide us with?
Hi, good evening, 11th Precinct Community Relations.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you good. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. I just have a couple of updates I want to share. Most importantly, if you were affected by the June flood, I want to make sure that you are aware that FEMA has extended their date to November 12th to make a claim. You can contact them if you or if you know someone who was affected by the flooding of June 24th or 25th and 26th, that you can claim that for some disaster relief funding. The telephone number that you can contact is 800-621-3362 between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. You can also go online to file your claim at disasterassistance.gov. I also put in the chat about the Renew Detroit program that provides free repairs to eligible Detroit homeowners using funds from the American Rescue Plan. That program will be held into 2 phases, starting with the first phase of roof replacement. More than 1,500 homeowners will receive free repairs through the program. However, this program uses the home property tax exemption, the acronym's HOPE, as a part of its qualification process. So HOPE is a low-income homeowners tax exemption. It was formerly known as HP TAP. So this particular program, those that will qualify are homeowners that around the age of 62 or plus, or a homeowner that is disabled, someone who has received the HOPE application approval in 2021, or if you received your approval in 2019 and 2020, you're automatically approved for 2021. And also what qualifies you is that you have not ever received a $10,000 grant from the city of Detroit in the last 10 years. So the process is online. You can go online to fill out an application, or you can contact them. They are doing applications by phone at 313-244-0274. And you also want to ensure that you complete that HOPE application, former HP TAP application as well. And the HOPE applications must be accepted by November 12th. And the Renew application, I believe, is it's until the end of October 31st. Let me just double check when that approval for the Renew program is. I'll come back with that information. I also just wanted to share, every third Tuesday, the Department of Neighborhood's District 3 office will host a meet and greet that will happen between the hours of 1 and 2. We currently have a new district inspector. His name is Mike Awada. He'll be joining us. Our district business liaison, who's Mohit Abdul, will also be on, along with Lee Johnson, the district deputy manager, as well as myself, just to host a conversation, answer questions, and take any complaints that that residents may have. That information will be provided by Gov Delivery. If you're not currently receiving Gov Delivery updates via your phone or email, I encourage you to please text 468-311, and in the text box, put District 3. You'll then receive all the District 3 updates that I send out, as well as city updates as it relates to the District 3 district. Lastly, we have a homebuyers workshop that kicked off last week. It's a 3-part series. Last week, Fifth Third presented on the homebuyers process, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of being a homeowner. This week, the Detroit Land Bank will be presenting on what their process is in purchasing parcels and land, as well as I believe their side lot program will present. And then the following week, next week, we have Detroit Financial Empowerment program that will present their workshop, as well as You Snap Back, who provides homeowners with various assistance on the east side, and they'll be doing a presentation. So hopefully that you'll be able to attend.
All of those meetings start at 5. The home buyers workshop goes from 5 to 6:30. And lastly, our District 3 meeting, which happens every 4th Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. There'll be another American Rescue Plan presentation this month, and they'll just be basic presenters that are on to share information from other city departments. That is all that I have. I think everything else was covered in other presentations, so thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was some great information. Appreciate it. Mr. Stokes.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Okay.
My computer is acting up a little. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Alvin Stokes. I'm president of Citywide Citizens Police Community Relations. Just want everybody to know that Citywide meets the 3rd Thursday of every month. Every precinct falls up under the umbrella of Citywide. The police department, we work closely with them, but they do not run our organization. Citywide, we solve all issues that anyone may have with their particular precinct or district or police officer or whomever. Citywide will step in and help you out. But just to let you know, they had the Faith in Blue Zoom meeting yesterday with ministers and community meetings. And the biggest question on there was, what can they do to better serve the community? So just think about it, give it to your president. If you have any ideas, we'll forward it back to them as when we meet next week, and then we can go from there. Great job, everyone, for supporting your president. President Kim, great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and have a great evening. Mr. Lionel Williams with DPSCD. I think I got it right this time.
Yeah, you got it right this time. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Greetings from Detroit Public Schools Community District. I will be very brief. I know it's past our time. We have started our Parent Academy online. I will put the website on the chat. There are a lot of good programs for parents. Also, the application window has started for Cass, King, Renaissance, and Marygrove. Parents can sign their students up right now. We'll start testing in November. We're still doing COVID weekly testing. We've spent $70 million on testing to make sure all students, all staff, and all adults are tested weekly. And also, Count Day just passed. If you know any students that have not been in school, please encourage them to come to school, whether it's virtually or in person. We look forward to educating every student, every day, and every hour. So thanks a lot, Ms. Jackson, for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the updates that you always provide us. Yolanda, I see your hand was up. Good evening.
Good evening. How is everyone? I have some, to me, important information. I have here a notice of hearing where they're trying to put in a marijuana grow house at 6773 East Davison. That location, across the street from that location, which is 6770, had a prior illegal grow. These are the same people. They have changed their name from SMI Steel to LLC to Molina LLC, using the address across the street. This is horrible. We also have a gentleman or gentlemen that are going through the neighborhood, come from Seed and Molina, have partners to bring you resource. Okay, and they have they have some information that they're going through the neighborhood. We have enough from Van Dyke to, I'm gonna say, the railroad track, or should I say from Van Dyke to Mound Road. Just on Davison alone, we have more than 5 marijuana grow houses, legal and illegal. We have some that has actually been raided and posted. and they're back up and in operation. I remember back here, we had someone from the city to come out that was from licensing about these marijuana grow houses and these dispensaries, where there's going to be a 10 a.m. on Thursday, October the 14th, Zoom meeting on this particular parcel that they're trying to that they're trying to open up. And it says to residents and property owners within 300 feet. This enough is enough. I mean, these people ain't even fixed what they've damaged behind my house. And now they on a piece of paper trying to get a marijuana grow house when they have not fixed the right of way to the alley. The same people, all they did was change their name, change their address, and moving right along.
Okay, well, I just reached out to Sergeant Spruce on that, so we'll reach out to you, Yolanda, and get some more information on that, okay?
Yes, because we need all of the people that is within this area to get on this Zoom meeting on Thursday, October the 14th at 10 a.m.
And that's what day, Yolanda? That's what? Is that Thursday?
Yes, that's Thursday.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Of course, I'll be at work, but I'm gonna try to join that as well.
Yes, because we need to know. I don't know how these places are being. I mean, there's no check and balance. I'll put it like that. There's no check and balance, either from building safety, engineering, and environment, or from the state who is licensing these people to open up these these things. Okay, I live in a business industrial area. Supposedly they supposed to be working on cars and trucks. So between the gasoline, the oil, and the paint, now you're gonna put a medical marijuana in here.
Right. Yeah.
I've just been told that the illness that I have contracted is coming from what they call standing water that this company that's trying to get these licenses has contributed behind my house. So yes, we did this here. We need some people to get on this Zoom and say enough is enough. We have enough of these dispensaries, these grow houses, legal and illegal, that ain't nobody checking, that's in these buildings, that's in a building, and ain't nobody doing nothing about it.
All right, we'll reach out. Sergeant Spruce is here and he's listening, so we'll reach out and find out what we can do to help.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, did I miss anybody? I know we're past our 8 o'clock hour. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody.
Hello.
Commissioner Birch, take yourself off mute.
Okay, is Mr. Stokes? I hope he's still on. Yes, I see your name. Are you aware, since you're over all of the precinct community relations, are you aware of the approved letter that says all of the request, the respect and love where you live letters, these signs are approved to be on the property of each precinct? That's the first question. Then I wanted to ask you, you're not aware of that?
But I don't have to be aware of that because I have no control over what goes on the precinct property.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, leave that alone. That's not you. Then I wanted to ask Ms. Kim and Sergeant Spruce regarding the new marquee that is outside the 11th precinct. It is beautiful, but it wasn't like announced to say, look what we have. And it's supposed to be the love sign in front of it. So is Sergeant Spruce aware of that, Ms. Jackson? The love sign should be, yes?
Spruce is here, so I'm gonna let him answer that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So he's coming now.
Okay.
We did have those lawn signs on the grass, and eventually they got run over by the folks who cut our grass. But no, they weren't supposed to be put in front of our marquee sign.
I beg your pardon, you're saying it's not supposed to be?
No, ma'am.
That's not what Chief White has said. So I guess I gotta speak to whoever's I don't understand that part.
Marquee. If we
What?
If we look at the marquee, you can't see what's on the marquee. But we
No,
did.
you just put that marquee up at the precinct.
What did you say? I didn't hear you, Commissioner.
I said you just put it up this month.
What?
The marquee.
No,
You
ma'am.
just saw it.
No, ma'am. The marquee has not just been put up. You talking about the one that flashes with the lights?
Yeah, that little big one that flashes.
No, ma'am. We've had that about 2 years now.
2 years? No, okay, we ain't gonna say that because I was up there for the National Night Out and that thing was not there. No, okay. Okay, you saying I'm seeing things, so I don't see what I'm seeing. Okay.
That's right.
That's okay.
So that's been up there since the early part of 2019.
Well, I guess the officer that told me too, he said, I don't know why it's just got up there. Well, we got to find out who else is not seen besides Miss Birch or Commissioner Birch.
That's been out there
That's
since
okay.
2019.
Yeah, okay, tell your officer that told me that. Okay, that's okay, Miss Sergeant Spruce.
What officer was that?
I'm not gonna give his name to get him in trouble.
How am I gonna tell him if you don't give me his name?
I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell Bedison. That's all.
That's all right.
End that, but you have a good night. That's okay.
Renovated this building.
No, 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 no.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
You're very welcome. So now it is, I'm sorry, can you see the time? It looks like it's 8:10. And I know we're a little bit over, but I thank you guys for your patience. I don't know, I see it.
Somebody lying.
Okay, one more question and we get ready to close out.
Sure.
I see Yolanda and Fred.
Yeah, hit that.
Go ahead, talk.
Yes, I'd like to say to Ms. Bird, we'd like for her to get on board while she complained about the sign. Let's complain about what's going on with the growth house, drug house, and our little 6 and 7 to 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids is smoking marijuana in our neighborhood. We need her on board with that, along with what she's talking about. Let's get on board and do that stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all got to work together. We have to do that. So, and Miss Birch, I know you listening. So, yeah.
We need her. She's the commission. We need her to get on board. We got a lot of little kids over here. The guys are supplying them with marijuana from these places. You say you see everything. I want you to see that. I got pictures I can show you.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, we're getting ready to close out. You guys have a great rest of your evening.
Yes.
Next month. Thank you guys for always attending, being there, bringing up questions. We will keep in contact with Omni Source. We will make sure we get them back so they can provide us information.
Good night. Good night.
What's going on? So we appreciate you guys. Have a safe night, safe month, safe week, safe life, and we will talk to you all next month. Thank you so much. And have a good